So I'm Jarreth Merz, and I'm the director of a feature documentary called An African Election.
And can you tell us a little bit about what the film is?
The film takes us behind the scenes of the 2008 presidential elections in Ghana in West Africa, and basically allows for access to places you've never been before. Places that not even players within Ghana, where the elections take place, have been before.
And how did you obtain that access?
There's different moments in the process. One of which is that we spent a lot of time on the ground with the political players, traveling with them. Like we were there 3 months prior to the elections. One of the first teams from outside that were there, and by that, all the players got used to us, and started to gain trust and open the doors so that we had this access. And another is that, of course, we have African heritage, our Ghanaian heritage, allowed us to get some access because the players knew our family and who we were, and that gave us some of that access. That being said, politicians are very cautious.
And because your family is rooted there, did that play into the inspiration for the film?
Also, because I spent my childhood there, and we left late 70s, beginning of the 80s, and what had happened, there was a military coup, and the family said we have to leave. So it had been 28 years I hadn't been back to Ghana, the place of my childhood memories. And going back was a journey to find out more about the place I grew up, but also I was tired of the constant this constant prejudice about Africa or African people, and I just wanted to portray a different modern picture of it, and that inspired me to start this journey. Politics of why going into an election, that basically came towards me. The story about the election just kept knocking at my door, and it seemed like a story that wanted to be told. One of my favorite scenes is we're in the north, and we see women working on a rice field, and farmers there as well. It just reminded me, of the importance that basically, again, also in Ghana, women are the backbone of society. Even though we don't talk about that in the film, it gives you a hint of that. That's what I wanted to say with it. And another one that I love is the voting. The passion of the people when they go to the ballot boxes, they go to vote. It's just incredible. It's like a party. It's like a carnival. And everyone is standing there watching, making sure that the votes are counted properly.
What audience did you envision for the film?
The audience for the film, I envisioned a younger audience, not the typical, purely intellectual. Not that younger people couldn't be intellectual, but the professors that had been, in the African study departments, the usual suspects, so to speak. I wanted a younger, audience that would go on this ride. So the film had to have a certain pace, had to have a certain look, had to be edgy, and yet, have a lot of information so you understood what was going on, but not too much information as to burden you.
What was it like working with Rawlings?
It was like working with a rock star. He's so charismatic, and if you like him or not, doesn't really matter, but he has this power. He galvanizes masses, and as a filmmaker, watching a personality like that is always very, very, you're very thankful. And he's a man of the people. And you can tell, it goes far when they call him Jerry Jesus. This is so extreme, and this man, has been very controversial in a way that, on one hand, he's seen as a revolutionary. He's like the Che Guevara of Africa, who brought democracy back to the country and relinquished power, in the interest of the people. And on the other side, people think, he's such a populist and manipulates the masses to his own, or for his own good. But I do believe he's a man of the people, and he wants to change, the society for the better.
Can you just describe for us the importance of internal diplomacy in resolving the crisis before anything terrible went down in the country?
Internal diplomacy, I think, is crucial because it shows a learning curve of how people communicate with one another and how successful that can be within the country itself. Ghana proved that there was a dialogue going on, even though the results had come in that the two different, the opposing political parties didn't agree on. There was a dialogue to find a solution, and I think that was crucial. That was very inspiring in the film, that the people found their own solution from within the country. And they didn't need like external intervention to do that. It's key that you have not only political leaders or presidential candidates, within the system you have political figures who are just as important. We always focus on who is the president, what does he stand for, but who are the people behind the scenes.
And what do the ultimate results of this election signify for democracy in Africa?
It did solidify the process of the democratic culture and establishing a democratic culture. Prior to Ghana's success story, you had failures within Kenya. 2007, 1,600 people were killed in the post-election violence. I mean, imagine that. Zimbabwe, elections went wrong. Ivory Coast, Mauritania, Guinea, and on. You had just terrible, bad examples, failed examples of the attempt to bring democracy back. So I think this film proves to be a success story, an inspiration for other African countries, hopefully, and also for Western countries.
Can you share with us your recent good news and tell us where your film's headed from here?
The good news is that we were nominated for the Spirit Award, great independent film award in the U.S., and that's going to happen in February, the same day as the Oscars are announced. The winners for the Spirit Award will be announced. Another thing we're doing, we're traveling with the film. It's a sequel, basically. It's a project called A Political Safari, where we take the film, An African Election, and take it like grassroots into communities, to countries with impending presidential elections. Next year it's going to be Kenya, Zimbabwe, and that's going to be very, very exciting. So we take the film in form of mobile cinema and travel through the country, engage people, the young electorate and the voters in a debate about free and fair elections.
All right, well, the film is definitely very solid and very inspirational. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us.
Oh, absolutely.